Hydro Man Ran. This is part 2 of episode 5. This is the second time we've recorded it. Apparently every single episode, or every single part of this episode we're going to do differently to kind of mess you up and throw things off. So I am Kevin.
I'm Andrew.
And so for part 2 we're going to be talking about Chrono Cross, right?
Yes.
That's what we talked about. Yes. I don't even remember. I deleted my notes. I got so pissed off after that last one didn't record. So this is going to be this might be a really short conversation. I didn't have that much input the first time around. So we're going to talk about Chrono Cross. This is a PS1 game from what, 99?
99. Yes.
Square Enix made it. Sequel to Chrono Trigger.
Depending who you ask.
Yes, a very loose sequel. It's in the
It's officially a sequel, but a good chunk of the hardcore Trigger fan base does not claim it.
Yeah, I don't claim it. So I remember playing it and not being too impressed with it, or at least I think my big input on it is I don't even remember it really. When we talked about it before, I'd been listening to the soundtrack a lot the morning before, and I remember the music. So I mean, to me that's the high point of it, and we gave that recommendation last time. Like, even if the game isn't for you and you're not big into RPGs, things like that doesn't interest you. I really do think if you like video game soundtracks, this is a really, really high quality one. Really recommended. Same guy that did Chrono Trigger, which is another fantastic, especially for limitations of the 16-bit system versus the PS1. I mean, that's a fantastic soundtrack too. But this one kind of elevates it, takes a lot of the similar themes, but does it in a new way. So excellent soundtrack. Since I don't remember much, Andrew's going to kind of explain what the hell happened in that game. I know it's between. I don't even really even when you talked, I must have like glazed over. Like, okay, I'm remembering everything and I'm bored again because I don't even remember everything. We just talked about it too.
I think I told you in a text that I could probably spend an hour if I wanted to go into all the deep details of the story, from beginning to end, leaving bringing in all the little side parts and how all the major things that happen, because you can give a brief summary. I'd say 5 to 10 minutes probably, but you'd miss a lot.
Right.
But I guess the most brief way I could put it is it starts in 1020 AD, which is 20 years after Chrono Trigger.
Right.
And 15 years after the fall of the town that Chrono Trigger happened in. Because that happened in 10.5, and then that's when Poor, which I found this out later, if you're playing Chrono Trigger, and when you know how when you're up in the castle, and you go down that bridge, and there's 3 little mini towns down there.
Yeah.
One of those is Poor. So Poor is 4 houses in Chrono Trigger, and somehow it just wipes out the army. Somehow, so I don't quite know how that happened. But we know in the DS that Dalton, one of the villains from Trigger, he somehow because he got sent through time and he ended up in 1000 AD, and he actually says in the DS in the extra stuff in the DS that he's gonna raise Poor up to basically get it basically conquer the whole continent as purely as revenge.
Okay.
And so in this timeline, Chrono and Marley and Luca. Well, Chrono and Marley may or may not be dead. It's unclear. Luca is dead, which we find out early. That's not really a spoiler. But basically, you're this kid named Surge. You go on a little, basically a little mini mission, which is pretty common for JRPGs that start out. You go on some small mission and it just explodes in this massive story.
Yeah.
Once you get to the beach to meet the girl who is sitting on the mission, you basically just get sucked into this time portal, and you're placed in a different world. And in this world, Surge is dead. He died 10 years earlier.
Now, one thing I do, the portals that switch you between dimensions is very similar to the portals that go through time in Chrono Trigger, right? If I'm not mistaken.
They are, and
because I remember that aesthetic.
they are like the major difference in terms of how they look is just that you're dealing with 2D versus 3D.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same thing. The only difference in this game is like it's just these two worlds, which is a different take because you're kind of seeing two. You're basically seeing like one reality gone two different ways. Basically, if Surge lives and if he dies, because essentially this being called Fate tried to kill him, and in one timeline they did, but then another timeline didn't, which basically created those split paths. You get to this timeline, people don't know who you are. You meet up with this thief called Kid, who is the I guess technically adoptive daughter of Luca, although Luca just kind of found her in the woods. So I don't know how that works as far as like paperwork goes.
I don't think medieval towns had.
They may not have.
They didn't have protective services and things like that.
So I guess you can call it what you want. But she basically she's just there to keep you safe because some soldiers said that they're there to capture you. You beat them. You go on your mission. You go to Dragonia. You go to Viper Manor. There's this being there called Lynx. He wants you to come with him. He calls you the Chrono Trigger, and basically you fall off the wedge. You go into the water and you escape. From that point on, you eventually go through the story. You make your way back to him. He then switches bodies with you, which is why in like probably about half the game you're actually playing as Lynx.
Right.
Which thankfully he's a really strong character, so that's good. But yeah, about half the game you're playing as him. Late in the game, you get your body back. You realize that there are these 6 dragon gods who basically say they're going to help you fight Fate. You go and you fight Fate. Turns out Lynx is Fate, or Lynx rather is kind of a creation of Fate. And when you find out that when you were about in the timeline when it was either that you die or you don't die, your father went to find the I don't remember what it's called, the frozen flame. He went to find that in order to save your life. He touched it, and that basically, Surge touches it, which makes him the arbiter essentially. So like only he now has access to this. When Fate's pissed, so because your father was there, he was corrupted. Fate tries to control him, and he actually has your father kill you one time, and he fails to do it in the other timeline. But since he's been corrupted, Fate can actually Fate then turns him into turns him into Lynx. So basically, the whole time you've been fighting your father. You beat Fate. Turns out that's exactly what the Dragon Gods want, because now they can take over, and you got to go fight them. And it kind of goes from there. It ends with you fighting the Time Devourer. And I think in Cross it's called the Time Devourer, and in Trigger it's called something else. Because you can fight it in the in both games.
Right. No, it is the. Oh, I put some video of someone fighting it in our video. I edited that in. I can't remember. I think it was called the Devourer.
Yeah, I think So,
but it was a different. It was a different. What was it called? It was something else Devourer. I can't remember what it devoured. It was something.
Yeah. Basically though, what it comes down to is the character from the Trigger, Shala, when she got sent through time, she basically kind of orchestrated this event with the Guru of Time. He got sent to the future, which was no longer a catastrophic nightmare, because you beat Lavos. But then he essentially realized that Lavos was basically trying to find a new way to not die essentially through time. So he started studying what's called time science, which is a thing that this game has. um, and basically, it turns out he basically planned out everything that happens in Chrono Cross in order to ensure that time isn't destroyed, essentially.
Okay.
So he's like playing 40D chess.
Okay.
He's playing it really well. So yeah, and like I said, like I've watched probably 8 or 9 different videos multiple times explaining the plot of it, which is where I got a lot of the information. It is very broad and convoluted and difficult to understand, and some of it is definitely theory and conjecture, because if you play Chrono Trigger once and you pay attention, you can understand the basic of the plot. You can understand what's happening.
Yeah, you understand who the bad guy is. You understand who your allies are. You understand.
There are some twists, but you
Right.
when they happen, you at least get it.
Right.
Chrono Cross is all over the place, so I'll give it that. The story, I can understand people being put off by the story. The music, like you already said, is amazing. I think better than Trigger. It's incredible music.
Yeah.
I think I think I mentioned this in the previous recording that basically I think the biggest issue some people have with it is that it's not the sequel people wanted, which I totally get, because it's not. It isn't the one that I wanted, because I think you're the one who mentioned it to me. I think you just mentioned the sequel, which made me excited. This is back when I was like probably 12.
Right.
Which made me really excited, because I was like, oh, this game's great. And I remember playing it and I was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think that was probably my problem with it too. Is I played it around the same time that I played Final Fantasy IX. You know, shortly after, because I came to Trigger late, so it was shortly after I played Trigger for the first time. Mario RPG. I think I was playing Legends of Dragoon, which I'm a big fan of, around the same time. And so you have all these great, fantastic RPG games that I'm playing, and there's just something about Chrono Trigger. It's convoluted, which if you can get into something like that, I mean, hey, I think that's...
You mean Cross?
Yeah, sorry. Cross is very convoluted, and I think it kept me at arm's length the entire time I played it, and I think that's why I don't really have... I know I beat it, but I don't have a memory of beating it. Like, I know it was a game that I wanted to beat, and because I love the first one so much, but I really... Like, I know I never actually beat Legends of Dragoon, because that's a long game. That's a very involved and hard game.
It's a long game.
But Chrono Cross, it was only 2-disc game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't... I don't remember it being as big as like a Final Fantasy game, but it wasn't a small game. I don't want to say it was like it wasn't. I mean, Chrono Trigger is a giant game too.
Right.
But yeah, I don't remember it taking that long to beat. I mean, for an RPG at the time.
It's about 30 hours, I want to say.
Yeah, it wasn't the 60 hours that 9 was for me to beat it the first time. You know, and it wasn't. I mean, I had to have put 40 hours into Legends of Dragoon, and I don't think I made it past the second disc on that game. You know, I mean, because that was a 4-disc game, if I'm not mistaken.
It was, and it was 4 pack discs.
Yeah.
Because technically technically 9, you could technically beat it in 12 hours. But
right.
you had to skip everything. You had to have already beaten it several times to know what you're doing.
Right.
But I mean, at the same time, that's not how you
had to open up the case. You had to open up the PlayStation and
skip all the things.
Skip things and restart your game all the time. Yeah.
Or you could just wait till 2019, get the new versions, and just fast forward through everything.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. I think that's how real champions win.
Yeah, which I think, I mean, from talking to you about it, especially after the last episode, I have looked at. So it is on Xbox One and it is on PlayStation 4. So pretty much, it's $20 right now, which if I picked it up, I don't know that I have the time to really finish it, even with super speed, but I would like to dip my toe into it again, so I'm trying to wait for it to come back down to about $10 on sale.
Gotcha. I think so.
And then, I mean, it'll probably hit that at, like, Thanksgiving or something like that, at least, at a minimum, if there's not a summertime sale.
It's got a fan base, but it's... Anyone who's, like, a big fan of it has already bought it. It's right. Like, there's not a ton more purchases coming in for it, so I could see that.
Yeah. And I have to decide if I really want to buy that or want to buy X2, because I really want to play X2 again.
I haven't played that in so long.
Yeah. 'Cause that was the one with the all female cast, and yeah, I actually really enjoyed that one. I liked 10 a lot. So
People gave X2 a lot of crap, but it was pretty good.
yeah, I mean because I was 22 when that came out, and for a game where you play all females and you swap abilities by changing outfits, there was something about it.
Right. It sounds like the most anti-guy game ever.
Right. It sounds like basically Barbie RPG, but I mean that was like a really fun game. Really, really great mechanic and really just a really, really smooth play.
Mm-hmm.
So and you already like the characters if you like 10 because
yes.
it's all the females from that game. So
well, plus Pain.
I don't remember her.
She was the gothic girl. There was Yuna, Riku, then Pain.
Oh well, yeah. Well, she's in.
Was she in 10?
Yeah.
I don't think she was in 10. Lulu was in 10. You're thinking of Lulu.
No, the goth woman, the goth dark mage, and Lulu. They're both in.
Pain's the one with the sword. She's like the real tough, punky girl.
Okay, now who am I thinking of? The one that's like
the one who married Waka, but that was Lulu. She was the black mage.
She was the one in like the gown.
Yeah, like incredibly revealing gown.
Yes. Okay. That
that was Lulu. She was in the game, but she was like a character you meet. Because in 10-2, you can only play those two characters, I think.
Oh, maybe that's what confused me then. Maybe I was thinking you could play Lulu. That one's been 20 years since I played it too. So
well, I use Lulu a lot in 10 because she like destroys people. Like she can crush them like from the beginning with her magic.
Yeah, no, she was her and who was the cat guy in that game?
Kamari.
Yeah,
he gets strong. You gotta work with him.
You gotta farm him for a bit.
But once he's there,
I remember there's this one place you're in the mountains and you come into an open field.
Yeah.
And there's a little military base in the middle of it, and then you can go back out and you can fight. But it's a great place because you can farm so many bad guys right outside of there, and then okay, all my guys are beat up, but I've got a ton of gil, so okay, let's go into the town, buy a bunch of medicine, heal everybody back up,
right?
Go back out and keep farming.
Keep it going.
Because I think I did that for like 5 hours and I made him a beast. I love the whole. We're really getting off topic. I love the leveling up system in 10. I love that whole grid. That was so good.
I did too.
That was.
Well, I mean, on the subject of levels, I think that's one of the critiques. Both critiques and loves of Cross is that it kind of makes it to where you really don't have to grind, because it basically you beat a boss, it kind of like opens up like the next floor, you could call it, and you can boost your stats a little bit more for a few battles, and then you kind of like reach that next plateau, and then you just keep doing that. So the only fight where you really gotta like prepare for is when you get to the Sea of Eden. And you've got to fight Miguel, who's your dad's friend. He sucks. He's not fair. Just straight up, he's not fair. He is really hard. Every other one you're ready for. So if you don't beat him, it's really just you're using the wrong characters, the wrong elements, strategy, whatever.
Right. Well, I think that's for a lot of games. The grind of leveling up can be very, very frustrating and very annoying. And so I can appreciate the fact that they tried to remove that out of a game. But if you have a good game that's fun to play, you like the characters, you can develop interesting strategies. Because RPGs are basically strategy games, but you can develop a good strategy with your team. That's kind of the fun of playing an RPG. I mean, that's like the fun of the actual gameplay, right? Because a lot of people like RPGs because of the story, but the actual gameplay is the strategy, how you can set up the mechanics and how you can set up all your characters.
Right.
And I do remember, I think I mentioned this last time, never really grasping exactly how to create my strategy in Cross.
Yeah.
I remember because the gameplay, again, because it's not about leveling up stats. There's like attributes you can add and cards you can add, and then there's this other sub mechanic in the battle where you have like a stamina, and if you do too much magic, or depending on the magic you do, you can deplete your stamina, and that if you don't play right, that's how you lose. Is by because if you deplete your stamina, your character can't do anything for like 2 rounds sometimes.
Yeah, it can really screw you over.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's a very interesting mechanic. It's not that I think it's not bad, but there was something about that I could never really get the hang of.
I liked it. It was just a little bit raw. Like I feel like if they tinkered with it a little more,
yeah,
they could have made spot on. Like the idea makes sense. Like I think you've done your moves, and now you need to take a break.
Right.
But the problem is like it can kind of like if you're not really focusing on it at times, you can really paint yourself into a corner.
Right. And I think the interesting thing about that is maybe, because Chrono Cross is one of those games that's known for the abundance of characters you can have
Yes.
Not in your battle, but in your overall party that join your quest.
Right.
Was it 45?
45.
Okay.
Yeah. And unfortunately,
I mean, it takes like 4 playthroughs, I think, to get them all. You can't
3.
do it. 3.
You 3 playthroughs to get all of them. And even then, for some of them, you kind of realize like, okay, whenever I play through a second time, I'll do B instead of A, and that'll be how I get this guy. But some of them, you got to make very unique choices that you would not have expected. Do certain things in a certain order. And I mean, there's like whenever you're finding hidden characters, there's always 1 or 2 that are a little weird and hard to find.
Right.
But some of them, a lot of them are just not worth the payoff of figuring out. Like they didn't. For some of them, I think for the ones where they really put in the effort, they can be as interesting or even more so than Trigger. But there's so many that are just I don't care about, and a lot of them are very like basically are just copies of other characters that you pick up.
Right. And see, I think what could have been interesting instead of having the in-battle system for stamina, have out-of-battle system for stamina.
Mm-hmm.
Where after a fight, depending on how intense the fight was, how long the fight was, how many turns it took you, maybe you lose your stamina.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're with a cast that large, if you could really like force the player to constantly be swapping out the battle party.
I see what you're saying.
And it would force them to use all these different characters and develop different strategies. It would kind of force their hands to use them instead of, when that cast of characters, I'm pretty sure I picked 6 and I got stuck with 6. And I'm sure most people probably did that except for the really hardcore people. I mean, even the hardcore people that were trying to find them, I'm sure you didn't even use half of them. You would use them for one battle and be like, okay, all right, let's go back to what I know.
I think each time, like each of my 3 playthroughs, because I wanted to make sure I got 100% just because that's just who I am. I think each playthrough, I made sure to like make myself use other ones, but even each time, I stuck to a few. So it was like these 4 or 5 for the first one, these 4 or 5 for the second one, these 4 or 5. Really just 4 because you've always got to use Surge. So right. It's like I'd have 2 that I was for sure going to use, and then 2 that I'd switch out, and just keep doing that. Like so that would still leave like 2/3 that I didn't even use because one they're not like interesting. They don't add a lot. Because one of the things I like about the plot is, whereas in Chrono Trigger you're going through eras, so you can kind of see what's coming down the road. Like if you go to 600 AD, you can see, oh, okay, so that's how this is going to lead to what happens in 1000 AD, which is really interesting. I enjoy that. In Cross, it's basically just 2 alternate worlds, so it's almost like you're seeing people where they've gone 1 or 2 different paths, and you can see how each of those paths would turn out. Sometimes you can take characters to the world, like when you find them in World A, and you take them to World B, or vice versa. You can always take them to their counterpart, and sometimes it's actually you find some really like interesting dialogue between them. Sometimes it's just lame and dull,
right?
Which is still unfortunate, and it seems to always be with the same characters.
And in any game like this that has magic, there's always like you have the circle of elements, and then this beats the opposite one, and you go around and that's how you know what beats what.
Right.
what's susceptible to what. I think what would have been really interesting is, okay, so you have all these characters and they're from different dimensions. Well, okay, make this one a fire mage, make this one a water mage, make this one a light mage, make this one a dark mage. And that kind of forces you, okay, well, I like this character. Okay, I have two ways of playing them, but I got to pick the light mage version or the dark mage version. Mm-hmm. And I think that could have been another way to like force players to really, pick characters, because I think other RPGs I know have done that, where kind of each character, I think even Final Fantasy's done this in certain ones, where each character kind of has their element.
Yeah.
And so if you're going into a battle and you need fire, okay, well, I want to make sure I get the fire elements to battle the ice element. I don't want to pick the water or wind because they're going to be susceptible to the water or whatever. And so, you have to or they're going to be susceptible to the ice.
Yeah,
it's always kind of complicated.
Yeah.
But it's not really that complicated. It's just I haven't played it.
Well, it's like some RPGs decide that ice can beat fire, and some decide that fire can beat ice.
Right. Fire should be able to beat ice. Water should beat fire, though. So.
Although that raises the question: then, once fire beats ice, does the ice then turn to water and then beat fire?
It could. I mean, that would be a really good villain, and I mean, if you
that'd be a really good.
I mean, if second level boss, and all of a sudden mid battle you have to change your strategy. I mean,
you're like worn out. You've used all your potions, and it's like the boss music has not stopped. What's wrong?
Come on, Square Enix. I mean, how many RPGs have you made? Have you ever done that once? Yeah, comment below if that's ever actually happened. We need engagement. There you go. Thank you.
I want some royalties for this.
We'll make the RPG. It'll be really bad, but we'll make it, and it'll have that one cool boss battle, and you'll be like, I mean, the game sucked, but that one boss battle was pretty cool.
they had a goal in mind. Damn it, they hit it.
That'll be the only benchmark on the Kickstarter. It's just the one battle. That's it.
Or even the back of the case, it'll just be talking about the battle.
Dude, this one battle.
If you could just get to this.
The ice guy becomes a water guy. Now, like, the 60 hours leading up to that battle are horrific and awful. But that 61st hour playing that one battle makes it all worth it.
Unfortunately, it's a 120-hour game. So
yeah, and it's really glitchy, and it's going to fail on you a lot. And yeah,
and we will not return any of your concerns or complaints.
And it was all written by Trent, or drawn by Trent in black crayon. That's the entire. It's all drawn on crazy or asylums walls. Is all it is. So.
Whenever I think of those crayons, even though like I know you're thinking of In the Mouth of Madness. I always think of the Bye Bye Man because of that movie when he like just draws it all over the house.
Bye Bye Man. What is Resident Evil 5 dog? Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
You haven't watched that yet, have you?
What, Bye Bye Man?
Yeah.
No, it does have. So the actor that played Bye Bye Man is a guy named Doug Jones.
Yeah, he's pretty big in horror, right?
I love him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I met him. I have a picture of him because I just went up to him and I was just. He did Abe Sapien in Hellboy movies.
Okay.
And in the first movie, they got I can't remember the actor's name, but it was the guy that played Niles on Frasier.
Oh yeah.
He did the voice of Abe Sapien, and they didn't let Doug Jones do the voice. But then in between the two movies, they released two cartoons, pretty well done cartoons, pretty good, pretty loyal to the comics, and they let Doug Jones actually voice the cartoons. And so I know those had come out. I don't know if Hellboy 2 had come out yet when I met him, and so I just told him, I was like, I'm really happy that they let you voice the cartoons. I was like, it was really nice to hear your voice. I love you as an actor, and that was just really cool. And the photo I have with him, he's given me the biggest hug. Really? He's such a nice guy, such a sweetheart.
He looked like in the interview I saw, he was really trying to praise the movie too. So I'm like, he seems like a genuinely good guy.
He is. I mean, he's the new Star Trek that's out there is garbage, but he's worth in Discovery.
The show.
Yeah, the show's on Paramount Plus.
Oh, I haven't seen. Yeah.
He plays a character in Discovery, and I can't remember the character's name because again, I'm not really as big of a Trek Trek guy I am. I just don't. I don't like those shows.
I know Spock and Captain Picard. That's about it.
Okay. Do you at least know that those are from two different shows?
What?
Those are from two different shows.
But they're from Star Trek.
Yeah, two different shows though.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're
Okay.
saying. I was thinking universes. Like I was thinking like almost like Star Wars or Star Trek. I'm like, no, those are both Star Trek.
Picard. Yeah, there's Mr. Picard right there.
What's up, buddy?
Picard and number one. I have the two of them. But
Okay.
no, he plays a character. I can't remember the name. Again, it's like him all in makeup.
Mm-hmm.
No, Jack Jones is great though because he's it's cool if you see any cool character in a Guillermo del Toro movie. It's probably played by Doug Jones.
Nice.
He played the weird ghost mom in Crimson Peak. Did you ever watch that one?
Yeah.
So the ethereal ghost mom that's kind of haunting the dog.
Yes.
That's Doug Jones. He played the fish man in Shape of Water.
I haven't seen that, but I do remember seeing that on his IMDb.
Yeah.
How did we get from Chrono Cross to Batman? That's impressive.
I don't know. Or
I think that's a talent.
I was listening to a podcast today and they called it tabs. They're like, I wonder how many tabs are open. Like they call different tabs. Like how many tabs did we open to get to this point? But
yes, there's like some kind of game we would play. We would play when I was in nursing school. I was learning to save lives, and we would play games in class instead. We would go on Wikipedia, and
how many clicks it takes to get to?
Yeah, basically.
Is it like oxygen or something like that?
No, we would just pick like we would find like a fat person, and we would like, hey, just say a random word, and they give us a word, and then we would all hit like random, and then we basically would have to start clicking through like finding links until we got to that word. So it'd be cat, and then I would hit random, and it would put me on like book. So I had to keep getting until I got to cat.
There's something if you click on the first link of every Wikipedia, eventually they'll take you to one. Like everything, like this guy did this info chart, and I've done it a couple times, and everything, I can't remember what it is, but everything leads you to one, where it'll like you're just
the number one.
No, it's not the number one. It's one topic. It's one article on like life or something like that, or chemistry or something like that. There's one.
So like scientifically on life, not like philosophically.
I can't remember if it's a philosophical or scientific. It's something like that. It's something like chemistry or it's life or it's something like that. Like every article,
I believe
comes down to one. Is all every article is technically referenced from this one article in Wikipedia. It has a connection to it.
Gotcha.
So
that's interesting. Well, even though we keep going on topic, I actually do really like this game.
Yeah, no, I want to give it another try. I think I'm.
Am I able to let you onto my PS network? Am I able to let you onto my PS network?
Yeah, I don't know how that really works though. I don't know if a game can only be downloaded on one system at a time.
Right. Because Megan does it too. She's got all my stuff, but we're on the same PS4.
Right, and in that case, if you're on the same PS4, it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. Maybe we should look into that because if we could do some kind of family plan together, because I know Xbox has that.
Mm-hmm. And
if you make a family, I think you get to see each other's library and borrow from it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Because I've got a decent amount of stuff. Now that we're on PS Plus, we're downloading a good bit. And I told you that I found Legend of the Dragoon on there. Yeah, we can look into that.
Yeah.
But it's. I don't know if I would say it's worth playing if you're not a fan of RPGs. I think if you are, it absolutely is. Even just it's a very unique take on JRPGs. Like if you separate that it's supposed to be a sequel to Trigger, and just take it for what it is, I think it's just like a unique, and it was maybe like not everything worked, but they tried new things. They threw out new ideas, which I like that they did that.
Yeah, I think the baggage and the acclaim from the first one probably doomed this game for a lot of people playing it.
It's hard to it would be hard, even if you were trying to bring back all the 7 characters from Trigger. It would be hard to make a sequel that they would truly love.
Which I still think, I think, like Final Fantasy VII doomed Final Fantasy VIII.
It did.
Because Final Fantasy VII was too good. How do you live up to that? And even though 8 is a okay RPG, after 7 you're like, I don't want to play this. This isn't what I was looking for.
Well, that's the thing though, is like 8's just okay. I think it'd be better if Squall didn't exist at all. I hate him. I really do. I don't like him at all. I don't know. 8's... If we could do an episode on that 8, but like you're not going to defend it.
No, I'm not.
And I'm just going to make memes
Maybe
and jokes.
I can call my roommate from college if he wants to guest on one. Right. He can do 8 because he may not actually.
The card game's great.
Well, that may be all he defends. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
he might just defend the card game.
The card game's really good.
Yeah.
And it helps even more that 9's card game is complete trash.
Yes, that is.
It makes it
horrible. Yeah.
Because I played 9 first, so I had that one. I was like, this is stupid. I don't want to play this. And then I saw the one on 8, and I was like, whoa, it's much better.
I think that's the direction I did, and so I never played the card game on 8. And I remember him getting on to me, like, no, that's good.
Well, it's like really important today because in 9 you can beat the game, and there's one scene in the game that even uses the card game in 9, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose.
Right.
It just you get like some item, which whatever.
Right.
In 8 you get like all the good stuff comes from the card game.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why I never got into it. But yeah, you have any other comments on Chrono Cross? I think again we said check out the soundtrack.
Yes.
Regardless,
the soundtrack
fantastic.
is wonderful, beautiful.
You can find it on.
I found it on Spotify.
Okay, you can find it on YouTube also.
Yeah,
you can just find YouTube video, put it on in the background whenever you're trying to work or
feel artsy.
Yeah, I was about to say study, but I'm like, we're old men. There's nobody studying that's going to be watching this. So no.
And also, if I'm listening to this while I'm studying, it's going to make me want to open like a video app, and then I'm just going to stop studying. Yeah. I pretty much need either like classical music for school or silence. Mm. Those are the only things I can do because I will get off topic real quick, as you can see.
Yeah.
With these conversations.
That's fine. Adult onset ADHD. Okay. Yes, that's it. So next week, we should have our top 5 horror movies coming out. So please watch that. If you're just finding this, part 1 of our episode was on In the Mouth of Madness. So go back and watch that. And yeah,
I think Kevin's finally recovering from.
I am.
My harsh words.
Hurt. He hurt so bad. We're going to have a fight here in a bit. He doesn't know that's the only reason why I invited him here. So
I got water. I'm cool.
Yeah. No, he's worn out from doing drills all day, so I'm gonna be able to actually take him for once.
Sneaky.
So that's our talk on Chrono Cross, and please leave any thoughts or comments down below.
Oh, and one last thing. I'm very sorry to my biggest fan, John. Obviously, my blinds are not here. They will be there for the next episode. I promise you that.
Yes. And Andrew is taking this microphone. So the sound you're hearing, if you hate that, then it's just going to get worse. But it should get better. His sound should get better. His blinds will never get better, though. We do.
They will not. That is the one part of the house that I have full immunity on. I've allowed my wife to have control of all of it, and she's done a great job. I'm not complaining. She's made that house my bachelor pad that made my stepfather cringe to something to be proud of.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I figured my mom wouldn't like it because I'm a guy. I'm like, that's fine. I'm messy. When he walked in and I saw his face, I was like, oh, wow. Is it that bad?
Yeah, you stayed with us for a week. I remember the house we came home to. Yeah.
That was part bunny.
I don't think the bunnies were, the bunnies weren't up on the counters not wiping them off after they made a meal.
Was it that bad?
Yeah, it was.
I'm sorry.
No, that was 5 years ago. I was like, it was fine. Because my mother-in-law came over, I think, and covered for you one night because you had to leave early. And she was just, she called, she was just so mad. I'm like, He's in his mid-20s. It's okay. He's not married yet. He'll get there. It's okay. It's not that big of a deal.
It took a while.
Yeah.
I've gotten better.
I'm not even. Oh, you should hear the stuff April complains about. We can do a whole episode on what our wives complained about us at some point in time.
When I come over, we put them in the room together. We put the camera in there and just let them go. We just let them go.
That'll be whenever we have Patreon. That'll be an episode because we're going to need money to pay for a divorce lawyer after that. But yeah, we'll do that. All right. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time. I don't have the notes in front of us, so I don't even know what we're doing next time.
Memento and Skyrim.
Skyrim, that's right. And then we already know what our top 5 is, but that's a secret for now. You'll have to watch. So, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Later, y'all.